All right, we're good for intro.
Good morning, everyone. It's my job to present the speakers for today. Sara Pinkham is the Exhibition and Engagement Coordinator for Main Library Gallery, where she manages production of all gallery exhibitions. Anna Holland is the Associate Curator for the Iowa Women's Archives and serves in a consulting archivist role for the current exhibit. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Carlette and Maddie. Well, hi everyone. Thank you for joining me and Anna this morning for a little behind the scenes look at our current main library gallery exhibit. Happy that you're here. So today we're going to be talking about Hawkeye Histories Sporting Stories that opened just last week in the gallery. So if you haven't had a chance to go in yet, that's fine because it's open through December 19th. So you have plenty of time through the semester. So I'll tell you a little bit about the exhibit. I just wanted to show you here this photo of curator Jen Sterling from American Studies and Matrice Young, who's the student life archivist in University Archives. Along with Anna, Matrice was also a consulting archivist for this exhibit, and they both did an excellent job with this exhibit. So thank you both for that. And also thank you very much to Sarah Keene for all of her help. Also, Matrice looks cool in this picture, so I had to put that in there. Um, so this exhibit that we have up this semester, as I said, this was curated by Jen Sterling, who's an associate professor of instruction for sport, media, and culture in the Department of American Studies and the School of Journalism and Mass Communication. It features a lot of things from the Iowa Women's Archives, which is one reason that Anna is here today presenting, and then also from the University Archives. And in addition to that, we've got some loaned items. So we have things from the University of Iowa Athletics Hall of Fame, a few fun things from them. We've also got things from University of Iowa Women's Wrestling Program, all very current things, but things that are exciting nonetheless. And from Jen Sterling and from Samantha Carey, who is the first Hawkeye draftee for women's soccer, national women's soccer. So I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. But this exhibit, just kind of overall, is a very broad chronological view of Hawkeye sports and some of the wider movements that were happening in tandem with those sports. So you'll see when you go into the exhibit, we've got some timelines in there, providing some more national context to things that are happening a little bit more locally in Iowa. So we've got some great stories in there for you. I also wanted to acknowledge that while we have a curator for the exhibit and I'm there and we've got our consulting archivist for this exhibit, there are a lot of people who contribute to making an exhibit in the main library gallery. So if any of you have attended a behind the scenes talk about the gallery before or have been involved with exhibits, you know that it really takes a village to put an exhibit together. So I wanted to just kind of let you know about some of our core contributors. Bill Voss is our conservator, technician, and preparator. He makes all of the mounts for everything that's on display in the gallery. So if you go in there and you notice that each thing has a perfectly fitted display stand with it, those are mounts, and Bill makes each one of those custom for all of the items that are in the exhibit. And for this exhibit, I think it was about 80 that he made, so that's quite a few pieces. Giselle Simone, our university conservator, she makes sure that what we have in the gallery is okay and safe to be on display and make sure that we've got the proper lighting for that. Lauren Coughlin, I really want to give a shout out to Lauren, who's our creative coordinator. She's been here since June and she did a phenomenal job designing for this exhibit. And we'll be exploring that a little bit later. She makes all of the graphics for the exhibit and all of the kind of supplementary promotional materials as well. We have Anna and Matrice and Sarah from Special Collections and Archives who all helped immensely with this exhibit, picking some things out and fact checking and a laundry list of many other things that they did to help. Ann Bassett and Natalie Dawson from Communications. They both did a great job helping with kind of just going through and editing things and making sure that everything looked good for the exhibit. And we also have Jay and Nikki from the studio who helped with some maps. So if you go in, you'll check out some maps that Jen Sterling and some of her students put some data together for. Jay and Nikki made sure that we could get that information visualized, and then Lauren put it in the context of design for the exhibit. So there's some fun stuff in there for you to check out in those regards. And then Ken Klinkenbeard, I want to point out that he is such a help every exhibit with things that kind of are web supplements for all of the exhibits. So we don't have a lot up there now because I'm still waiting for some content, but check the exhibit website out soon for the exhibit, and you'll see some more content there that Ken has helped put together. So here's a little behind the scenes photo of some cutouts of Niall Kinnick and Caitlin Clark and some tape and all kinds of stuff on a messy table from when we were putting the exhibit together. I just thought it looked kind of cool. So there they are in context. This is kind of a broad view of what the exhibit looks like if you were standing kind of towards the north end in front of the big window. So you can see we've got some nice color sieves going on here. There's a display case, and then we've got Niall and Caitlin stealing the show if anyone looks in the front window display, kind of to get people to come in. So I just very briefly wanted to let you know that there's several collections that items came from. So if you're not familiar with any of these collections, Anna will be telling you a little bit about some of them from Iowa Women's Archives. But if you're interested in anything that you see in the exhibit or one of these collections piques your interest, talk with Anna or Matrice or Sarah or Janet. Anyone in IWA or UA can help you out. So University Archives, we've got several collections that show up in the exhibit. Board and Control of Athletics records. There's a Hecker postcards and photographs collection. Kent, of course, who shows up in everything. Dolphin Club records, Niall Kinnick papers. We even have athletics guides, programs, and tickets in a collection. Center for Media Production Photographic Services image collection. There's a lot in that collection. It's massive, and you can get photos of athletes and many other individuals and groups on campus from many decades. The yearbooks collection, of course, Realia and Artifacts collection, physical education records, and some individual collections of many. And there's Niall Kinnick doing the best ever can kick. So that's the one that we used and put in the front of the exhibit. Anna will tell you a little bit more about some of these, but we've got Pauline Spencer papers, Phys Ed for Women records, Holly Wilson Green, Christine Grant, Lark Birdsong, Nadine Domond, and the Tepa Haranoia papers. So it's a lot of individuals coming out of the Iowa Women's Archives, in addition to softball records, which there's a box of softballs that Anna will tell you about later that we selected some things from. So I'm going to turn it over to Anna to talk about some favorite finds from the IWA for this exhibit. Sorry, Anna, you're still on mute.
Sorry, I got a little excited there, going away with myself. I am Anna, the Associate Curator of the Iowa Women's Archives. And this lovely woman on the slide here is Christine Grant. She was UI's first and only Director of Women's Athletics. And well, actually, it's a cardboard cutout of her, about half of her, as you can see. So Sporting Stories covers UI's sporting history up to the present day. So it got to include this piece, which was used during COVID to make a pretend audience for athletes during the game. And you can just kind of see in the little book next to Christine there, a picture of what's happening there. So Christine has been in storage in IWA for the past few years. So I was really tickled that she made it into an exhibit, because where she has been is just kind of like peeking out of the stacks, scaring me when it's dark. But now she gets to be in a case, and she's just one of the many fun pieces that we pulled from IWA for this exhibit. So I'm going to talk about a few of them over the next few minutes. The exhibit's mostly made up of materials drawn from the university archives and IWA. So as archival consultants, I and Matrice Young from UA assisted Jen Sterling pulling items from the archives, and we kind of used our knowledge of our collections and what was in the space and the dimensions of the things to suggest items that fit her themes and also literally fit in the cases. Um, Thankfully, I was already pretty familiar with IWA's athletic holdings prior to doing this exhibit. They're popular items for one reason, but also Jen Sterling has been coming to IWA for years as a part of her sports studies courses. A lot of them have focused on women's athletics, so she comes in pretty much every semester with her students. So I kind of knew what her favorite things were, what she liked to see. Um, so for this exhibit, we did use some of the things that we pull out for her classes, but also some newer items, some bigger, showier things like the cutout of Christine Grant that I don't usually pull out for classes. Um, Thank you, Sarah. That's the perfect slide. Um, so, knowing in advance that the exhibit was coming, we were able to adjust our processing workflow to get some new collections ready for inclusion. And that's kind of what this slide is showing off. These are examples from two of the collections, the Tepa Haranoia papers and the Holly Wilson Green papers. And Holly Wilson Green's Athletic Artifacts, I think it's called something like that, is also a collection in UA. So, not to be confused with the two, IWA holds her personal papers. So, the pins here are from the Holly Wilson Green papers. And Holly received a PhD in physical education from UI in 1980. And she also was one of the first female athletic trainers in UI and just higher education generally. So, a very cool person. After being at UI, she joined the Navy, which is a whole other story that's in the papers that we didn't get to use here, but we did get to use these pins. Um, they have slogans like, "It's fun to be fit for life," and "I'm a sportswoman and I'm proud." Most of them are in support of the AIAW, the Association of Intercollegiate Athletics for Women, which is talked about a lot in the exhibit. Um, the AIAW filled the function that the NCAA fills today, and some contend that the AIAW did a better job of it, and it should have remained active, but that again is another story. Once the NCAA started incorporating women's athletics, it was really kind of game over for AIAW, although they did fight it. So Holly Green and Christine Grant were both a part of that organization. The other collection featured a real life friend of Holly's, Tapa Haranoia. Tapa came to the US from Finland to compete in gymnastics, and she became UI's first women's gymnastic coach after Title IX came into effect. We have a picture of her here looking very serious, and also an early team leotard, which you can see in the front case of the gallery. Sarah's going to talk in a little bit more detail about how that was mounted. But clothing items in IWA don't get pulled out a ton for research. So it's always nice when we get to use them for exhibits like this. Could you go to the next slide, Sarah? Thanks. So next up, the exhibit includes a lot of items that I love and have loved and do often get out. But I am so excited to share them. So these include one AIAW paddle. You can see down there the bright orange one. Orange was kind of the AIAW color. Fun fact, we have two paddles in the IWA, but the other one was too big for the case. So if you would like to see the big paddle, please get in touch. We also have a lot of material from the Christine Grant papers. Christine Grant, luminary of UI, but also nationally for her expertise on Title IX. Collegiate sports for women, I think, would not be the same without her here or really anywhere else in the country. She became the head of women's athletics basically right after Title IX while she was still a graduate student, and she continued to advocate for Title IX throughout her career. She would speak to Congress about it. She was an expert witness in cases about it. Um, so she oversaw the women's athletics department through her retirement in 2000, at which time it was combined with men's athletics into the UI athletics situation we have today. Um, so her papers do include my favorite logo ever. And you can see it on this bumper sticker. It's got the Iowa with the woman's sign as the O. I think that's very clever, and I think it should be on all women's athletic t-shirts going forward. But you can see some great examples of that logo throughout the collection. This bumper sticker also says, "Every woman is a winner," which might be a reference to Grant's philosophy and the AIW's philosophy of sport as something that prioritized the student first over the athlete and the virtue of competition over just winning. It's how you play the game. So you can see this logo on the Haranoia leotard, pins, and lots of other things in the gallery. Can you go to the next slide? Thank you. So the scope of the exhibit, as Sara mentioned, really is just Iowa sports here at the University of Iowa from the beginning of the university to the present day. And that wide scope allowed us to feature some older stories and some more unusual sports that you might not think of. So in the center, we've got a handwritten nameplate for Pauline Spencer. The C. Pauline Spencer papers are of a woman who was a student at the University of Iowa from 1920 to 1923. And so that's way before Title IX. There were no varsity sports for women, but there were sporting opportunities in the form of the Women's Athletic Association. So this little nameplate would have come from a WAA sporting banquet. And Pauline Spencer really made physical education and sports the centerpiece of her career. She was the first woman at UI to win a letter her sophomore year, and the first woman to earn two letters during her college career. And she later went on to have a career in physical education for women. So her papers are at the archives, and we have two nameplates in the gallery with these cute little caricatures. I think that is supposed to be Pauline. The other two items are of lesser known sports. So if you were asked to name a college sport, probably not a lot of you would immediately say archery or riflery. But these are the two sports we have featured here. The one on the left comes from a scrapbook with a lot of really amazing action shots. One of the things that I love about scrapbooks is that they are full of surprises. Sometimes they're photographs, sometimes they are tiny crumbs of pieces of cake from someone's wedding. But these ones, if you open up the athletic scrapbooks and the UI for PE, UI PE for women's records, you will find some photographs that you maybe wouldn't look for before, and they're really well preserved being in the book. So this is an action shot of Phyllis Whitmore, the archery club president. There were a lot of club sports for women before Title IX. And on the other side, we have the women's riflery team. You can see them getting ready to shoot in front of that cannon. And then in the front is the patch that they would have gotten for WRT, Women's Riflery Team. And these are also in the UIPE for women records. Matrice Young, the archives consultant from University Archives, initially found riflery team paraphernalia in their collections, and that kind of got me looking. So even having worked here as long as I have, I had not heard of the women's riflery team. So when you get in the gallery, you're going to see a lot of surprises. Next slide, please. And finally, the oddballs. In this case, literally softballs and a basketball. We have a box that is full of softballs. There are way more than three. And we have them because they are celebrating the career of Gail Blevins, a record-breaking softball coach here at UI. You can see 300th career win, for Gail Blevins written on one of those. So we picked out a few of them that had like different fonts on them or were celebrating different career wins. I think there's one that says 400th as well. And we pull these out for Jen's classes because it's just so crazy that we have a box full of softballs. Um, but to have them in the gallery exhibit is really cool, and the work that Bill did to mount them is just really impressive. And the other one is a Title IX 40th anniversary commemorative basketball. And this basketball, if you get to touch it, as I have, it's really a little too flat to play with, but it looks fantastic. And these are from the Christine Grant papers. So no one can dribble it out of the archives, I guess is the point of that. But today we've had Title IX for over 50 years, which is incredible. And I think as you go through the exhibit and you take a look at some of the materials in there, you will see that these past 50 some years of Title IX have only made our athletics program stronger. So the things that I've shown you are just a sample. I know it seems like a lot of items. There is so much more in the gallery, and I hope you'll be able to make the time to visit the exhibit and see them all.
Thank you, Anna. And I want to point out that the photos that Anna has used in her part of the presentation are very behind the scenes, so you're getting an extra glimpse into the process. So before we put the exhibit out into the gallery, we usually have a couple of meetings with curators and other folks on the exhibit team to lay things out and make sure that everything fits into the case and everything. So you can see that case 8 label, we were double checking that the basketball will fit into the case and taking measurements to make sure that the design doesn't go behind the basketball. So there's all kinds of little things to keep in mind. And speaking of design, wanted to share some of the work of Lauren Coughlin. For those of you who have not met Lauren yet, she's been here since June, so she hasn't been here very long, but she's already accomplished a huge amount of work and did a fantastic job putting things together exhibit design-wise in the gallery. So really grateful to her for her expertise and her vision there. Wanted to share this fun photo of the most fun day in installation when we received, as you have seen, the cutout of Caitlin Clark and Niall Kinnick. But this is Lauren and then Natalie Dawson unpacking this. We were very excited for this to get delivered, and they looked cool. So when you go to the gallery and check out the exhibit, you will see Caitlin and Niall. But this is the unboxing video, or a photo, if you will. So some of the work that Lauren did to prepare for the exhibit includes, and this is just a small excerpt from what she created, but she created a full layout to scale of the gallery. So all of this wall H, case 9, wall I, that's all to scale measurement wise. And she created that for all of the walls and all of the cases that are in the gallery, which is really great. So that gave us a good footprint to use when putting things up in the gallery. So it looks exactly like she envisioned on here, but all of the walls and the cases have their own labels. So we're able to use those to make sure that we're putting the right wall panel and the right case panel in the right place. So this is just an early draft of her designs in the layout for the gallery. And then she also created a brand guide earlier on. So soon after she got here in June, she created this brand guide, which is very exciting because we haven't had a brand guide for an exhibit before. So this is like very thrilling to me. It's the little things. Well, this is not very little, but to me, this is awesome. So she was able to put together a color palette and some textures and things that she wanted to use as part of the design and inspiration. So this is just a small part of what she created. It's a brand guide. There are several more pages, but she was able to use that to kind of go off of, and she also created a mood board to go off of when actually designing the exhibit. So this is really great. So this is just my little excitement about behind the scenes design stuff. And here's Lauren putting vinyl on a wall. But so Lauren designed over 80 plus individual pieces with custom measurements. So the design, it's a long process. There's a lot involved with it. And having not been here very long, Lauren got a lot of work accomplished in a short amount of time. So she was able to, within a month, get the entire exhibit designed and created and installed, which is awesome. So she created over 80 plus individual pieces with custom measurements, and that means going in, talking to Bill Voss, and making sure that she's got the measurements of the artifacts so that she's not putting any words behind an artifact. She did the case panels, and yeah, precise measurement around all of the objects. There's a separate 16-page publication that she's just finished, and that will be in the gallery soon, just in time for the opening event happening next Tuesday, the 10th. But that's a gallery guide, which will have all of the items and their numbers in the gallery guide, along with some fun photos that are kind of some extras. So look forward to that. And then she's working on various promotional designs for social media, the website, and many ads, and creating custom vinyl, like this basket that she's put on the south wall of the gallery. So there's really a lot of pieces that go into design work for an exhibit. Just really excited and pleased with all of her work for this. So thank you, Lauren. She's not here, but thanks. And the Easter egg that we have in the gallery, the reason we are putting this random basket rim on the wall is because Jen Sterling brought a number 22 signed Caitlin Clark sticker decal to put on the floor near some of the more current items in the gallery. And we were able to measure and see that from the location of that decal on the floor to our south wall where we placed the basket is about 35 feet. So we were able to kind of give people the idea of just how far 35 feet is for that winning shot against Michigan in 2020, earlier this year in 2024. So that's a fun Easter egg. We showed that to John Culshaw last week and he was thrilled. So yeah, so this is Lauren taking her life into her own hands, putting a basket on the wall. Okay, so something that I got to do that I was really excited about for this exhibit, and this is not something that we've tried before, is we were able to use Foss-Shape. Here's an awkward picture of a mannequin wearing just little Foss-Shape shoulder pads because I cut them off the thing that I've made. But the whole idea with these Foss-Shape mannequins is in order to create invisible mounts for some of those textiles that Anna mentioned earlier. So we've got a few different textiles in the front case. We've got a sweater and that leotard, a coach's jacket, and what else is in there? Oh yes, a loaned piece from the Hall of Fame. A very itchy basketball uniform. So we wanted to kind of create invisible mounts for those, almost as if they were floating, because we didn't want it to feel really like a department store where we've got 4 mannequins in the front case. And the one we had last fall for Hey Buddy, I Am Bill, there was just one mannequin and it frightened the students anyway. So 4 would just be too much. So we tried something a little bit different. And the reason that we went with the Foss-Shape material, which I'll show you in just a moment, is I spoke with somebody from the Costume Institute at the Met and asked how she makes invisible mounts for textiles. And she shared that a lower budget option was to use this special material. So Foss-Shape is kind of a poly material. It's a conservation approved material that you can sort of melt into the shape that you need it to be. It's really interesting. It appears in cosplay a lot, I guess. I can totally see why, because as I was working with this material, I mean, you can really mold it into anything you need it to be. So it comes in a very large roll. We were able to use a plastic mannequin as a base for this to mold the fabric around. So I created a very loose pattern, as you can see in the upper left corner, a very loose pattern, pinned it to the mannequin, was able to hand sew it on, and then use a steamer with hot steam to melt the material down to create this molded piece. And so in the bottom right corner, you can see the final product. So I made 4 of these overall, and this is really fun to try. So here are a couple of the finished mounts that I made for these. On the left is the basketball uniform that we borrowed from the Hall of Fame. And Bill helped me out getting creative because what I really didn't want to do is have this white material showing through on the back. So Bill cut some pieces of Vivac, which is something that he uses to make a lot of his mounts, to create some straps. And we're able to have these invisible looking straps under this tank top shirt. So this is another logo that I absolutely love. Iowa. I don't know exactly what era this is from. We're thinking maybe possibly the 70s, but Anna and I spent some time looking for this in yearbooks and could not find this anywhere. So it is still somewhat of a mystery, but it's a really cool piece to add to the exhibit. And it's very itchy and it has a belt on it, which you can't see in this photo. So I would not recommend as an actual basketball outfit. And then on the right, we have the Tepa Heranoia leotard. And the issue with that is the legs on the bottom. And I did not want to have this foss shape peeking out the bottom of this. And so what I ended up doing, and I don't think I included a picture of this in this presentation, but what I ended up doing is creating two pieces that I then sewed together and suspended together, just to kind of create the illusion that it was inflated, but you wouldn't be able to actually see it through the legs. And I think I've achieved that. So I feel cool about that. So thanks to conservation for letting me hang out in the lab for many hours making these little mounts for our textiles. Okay, what could go wrong? If you've attended one of these before that I've given about exhibits behind the scenes, you'll know something always goes wrong, and I'm going to tell you about it. So here is a photo of Lauren, Bill, and Giselle with some of our objects from the exhibit in the elevator. Why? Okay, so you will all have experienced over the last couple of weeks some temperature fluctuations in the building, and some humidity fluctuations in the building, and that has affected not just the common areas, but also the archives and special collections. So they were dealing with humidity and temperature issues in their spaces in the stacks. And then we were dealing with that also in the gallery because of some of the work on steam. And so what happened in the gallery is the relative humidity went up to about 86%. The relative humidity is meant to be at around 50% in the gallery. For an ideal artifact environment, and also to make sure things don't fall off the walls. So we were getting ready to, or we had many of the things actually installed. So here's Lauren, Giselle, and then Jen Miller on the photo on the left, removing things in their mounts from the gallery to go up to conservation, just to give them a break from the really humid environment in the gallery that we'd been encountering over a couple of days. And this was a couple of weeks ago, just in our last week of installation. The photo in the middle is them hanging out in conservation lab and trying to recover from their time in the gallery when it was 86% humidity. And then we ended up getting a dehumidifier, which is on the far right. So you can see this empty case in the background where we had removed things that were already out for display just to make sure they were protected. And the same thing actually happened to us the next week, 85% humidity, unfortunately, but we were able to get the dehumidifier back, and all of the items were already sealed in the cases. So we did not have the same problem as we initially did a couple of weeks ago, where the cases were not closed yet and the items were still sitting out. So the environment inside the cases was better than the cases being open. So that was definitely an adventure. That's something that we hadn't had happen before in the gallery. And I hope that we don't have it happen again, but at least we know we've got dehumidifiers, so that's a plus. Yeah, so that was a new one. So here's some photos of the finished exhibit. I've got many more, but just wanted to select a few to give you sort of a taste of how it looks. On the left, we've got, so you can see Lauren's design in there. You can see the mounts that Bill has made. You can see items from IWA and the University Archives. Let's see. Yes, you can see items from IWA everywhere. So make sure you come down and check out the exhibit if you get a chance. Again, this is open through December 19th, And there's a lot more than just this. It's always so hard to take photos in the gallery, especially from far away, because there's actually just so much in there to look at. Let's see, Anna, do you have anything else that you would want to add overall? No, that's okay.
I don't know. I had a great time. Um, yeah, this was a lot of fun to get to pull out some of my favorite things. And uh, obviously I wish there was even more room because I have so many other athletics collections, even outside of UI, that I love to share and talk about. So um, I guess feel free to come in and pick my brain about that, but also do show up for the extra things that Sarah's has planned for us.
Yeah, thank you.
And yeah, I'm so glad it's not sweaty anymore.
I have to tell you, I literally had a nightmare about the walls crying.
It got sweaty in IWA as well. Cold and sweaty.
Yes, it was a enjoyable time was had by all. No, it was not.
No, a bad time was had by all, probably all of you too.
Yes. Yeah, we were all cold, I think.
But yeah, no one can hear the archives cry.
But luckily, everything's resolved. We've got great facilities management folks who are helping us out, and we really, really appreciate everything that they did and continue to do. So thanks to Nick. I know he's not here, but Nick Griffin was a huge help in the gallery and in the stacks for us these last couple of odd weeks with humidity and temperature differences. So I wanted to let you know that we have some things coming up this semester. There will be a few more that make it onto the list in partnership with American Studies, but I'm just kind of waiting for those descriptions to come through. But for now, we have these things that you're all invited to come to. So next Tuesday, September 10th from 4 to 6, that's a drop-in time, so you don't have to stay the whole time, but it's the exhibit opening celebration, which we normally do a week or two after the semester starts, just to allow people to kind of get used to the semester and settle in and everything first. So please come to the opening celebration. Jen will be giving some remarks, John will give some remarks, and there will be snacks and get to check out the exhibit with friends. So please do come. You're all welcome. Then October 8th, we have a talk from Damian Thomas, and he is the curator of sports at the National Museum of African American History and Culture in Washington, D.C. So that's the Smithsonian Museum. He'll be giving a talk called Leveling the Playing Field and wants to kind of share about his experience curating for that sports section of the museum. So I think that'll be a really interesting talk. So please do come. That's at 6 p.m. on October 8th, another Tuesday. And the gallery is open late on Tuesdays to 8 p.m. So that will be open as well. There's a little bit more information about all of these things on the main library gallery website. So you can see a full description and descriptions of who will be talking. There's a couple of curator guided tours that everyone is welcome to come to. So curator Jen Sterling will be there and will be kind of giving her behind the scenes insights from a curatorial perspective and sharing a little bit more about what's in the gallery that she's selected. So that's October 15th and December 4th, both at 4 p.m. So those are our two opportunities to hear from Curator Jen. And then Anna and Kate Razum will be giving a talk on Title IX. So it's Title IX, Christine Grant, and Competing Visions of Equality on a Zoom talk November 20th at noon. So there are a few more things coming up, but you're all welcome to come to these. We'd love to see you there. Please tell your friends. And then I also wanted to share for 2025 coming up, we've got a couple of exhibits curated by library staff. So in the spring, Rich Dana from Special Collections and Archives will be doing a roll of the dice, symbolism in the Sackner Archives. So he's a Sackner Archive project librarian, and he's been in that role for a couple of years now, and he knows the archive really well. Even though he hasn't seen everything, because it's almost impossible to see everything. There's so many artifacts in that collection. But he's putting together this exhibit, pulling together many things that are related to a poem. So that is probably the best description I have for you right now. It's going to be really interesting and different. But all of the exhibits in the gallery are wildly different every semester, so you'll never see the same thing twice. Um, Maybe just a few herkies. Just a few of the herkies might show up a few times in various exhibits over the years, but and then fall in 2025, we have the movable book in art, science, and education. So there will be all kinds of things from special collections and archives, and from the John Martin Rare Book Room over at Hardin. And that's curated by Giselle Simone, Damian Ihrig, and then also faculty member Beth Yale. So that's fall 2025. And there will be some really cool things in there like Volvels and flat books, medical flat books, all kinds of movable books and how they were used in art, science, and education. So that's what's coming up for 2025. And we do have exhibits scheduled for 2026 as well, but I will save those for another time. And I also want to throw out there too, if anyone here is interested in doing an exhibition in the gallery in the future, there will be a call for proposals coming out sometime later this fall. So keep an eye out for that. There will be an announcement, and we'll have everything ready for you to take a look at this fall. But if you have any questions ahead of that, please let me know. I'm always happy to talk to anyone who might be interested in doing an exhibition or has questions about anything. Yeah, just email me or come visit me when admin is no longer under construction. Okay, so I think that's about all that we have for you today, and we're happy to answer any questions you might have. But thank you so much for joining me and Anna today. Thank you to everyone who's been part of the exhibit and making it happen, and for supporting the exhibit.
Yeah, and I'll just, before I stop the recording, I will second, or I'll reiterate what I put in the chat, is that if you are interested at all in doing an exhibit, do it. Like, Sara makes it actually like bite-sized manageable, and as somebody who's been through it with her, like, I didn't know what the heck I was doing and still did it. We got it done. So if you are interested at all, you should do it. Okay, now I'm going to stop the recording after I have that.